August 25th meeting of the Clay County Board of Zoning Adjustment. Would you call the roll, please?
Joanne Lawson. Here. Scott Wagner. John Carpenter.
Here. Now I'm going to look for a motion to approve the March 24th meeting minutes.
Meeting minutes from March 24th.
Yes, ma'am. Motion is made, and I second. Please call the roll.
Joanne Lawson.
Yes.
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. So welcome you all to the meeting this evening. We've got two cases. Anybody here who's wanting to testify this evening and offer your thoughts on one of the two cases, we do have a sort of an official swearing-in process that we do here at the outset of the meeting. So anybody who thinks that might be you, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. Okay? I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. You are sworn in. Very good. All right, up first, we've got case number PZ26-120, and we've got Shane. Would you like to take it from there?
Yes, I'd like to add this staff report as part of the official record.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so for our first case tonight, we're dealing with a variance to whip the depth, or not with the depth ratio, but the minimum lot standards and density and dimensional standards. So currently the property, it's roughly 123 acres, zone agricultural, and has access from North Stark and Northeast 132nd Street. The applicant is requesting a variance. Well, let me walk this back. So the applicant is proposing to subdivide this property into approximately 11 lots. And this is actually kind of the first step to attempt at doing that. They have provided two different proposals, and those are both within your staff report. One of the proposals is what you're seeing here, which is what's requiring that variance. The other proposal is one that actually meets the county code, but it creates some possible future issues with how the land is developed or how it's broken up. But so the applicant is requesting a variance to the section of code. It's 151-4.6C, and it details the rules and regulations regarding minimum lot standards and density and dimensional standards. Specifically, it details the minimum width for a lot. The applicant, or the lots that are kind of highlighted in yellow are the subject lots we're talking about. It's a little bit harder to see, but I have it broken down on the left-hand side. So how the code reads right now is it's 300 feet of width per lot. And what they're requesting there ranges from anywhere from 9 feet to 10 feet per lot for the variance, essentially allowing those size of, or that wide of lots to exist. Here's the section of code. I highlighted that specific line that deals with the 300 feet of minimum lot width. With all of our cases, we look at our land development variance approval criteria. What's on the screen right now are summaries of each of the criteria. The full criteria are within the staff report. Each of this criteria must be met, and the burden of proof is on the applicant to show that this criteria has been met. This is the surrounding area to kind of give you an idea. There in the blue on the left-hand side, that's northeastern, and then in the red, that's your Stark. So it's wedged in between there. Just a little bit further north is 92 Highway, and south would be the city limits of Kansas City. We do our standard public notice requirements with all of our variance cases. That includes publishing in the newspaper, sending letters to property owners, in this case within 1,000 feet, and we sent a total of 25 letters. We have not received any calls of opposition. They have submitted, like I spoke about, the two different exhibits, along with the letter addressing the criteria. They also provided support letters from neighbors that are adjoining the property as well that is attached to the report. But like I said, we've received no calls or opposition for the case. Staff would be happy to answer any questions the commission may have, and the applicants are present.
Questions?
I have a question, yeah.
Good.
So really, when all said and done, it meets criteria in every way except the 300-foot thing, right?
Yes,
If
yeah.
that's the only thing, but all, the size of the lots,
The
that
size
they-
of lots are consistent
Great,
with our comp
okay.
plan. It's just the width is where we're pulling it from, yeah.
Very good. No questions for me, so. And so we'll be inviting testimony. Let's start in favor if we've got the applicant
Chairman.
here. Yes, please.
Yeah, can we have the applicant address the board first,
Yes.
please?
My name is Dan Farrell, and thank you, Commissioner Lawson and Commissioner Carpenter, for listening to this and considering this. We appreciate that. We also appreciate the help that Kip and Shane have given us throughout this process. My brother Ron is there. One of the reasons we're doing this, this is a family farm. It's been in our family since late 1880s. It was purchased by my our father and mother in the 60s, and I actually live at the cutout on the left-hand side there on 132nd Street. Okay, so I've got some interest in how this is done, and the main reason we're doing this is because, if you can tell, we're getting older, and so we really want to get this in order for our kids and grandkids. Ron has 1 child and 3 grandkids. I have 4 children and 12 grandkids. So I would like to think, and he would like to think, that they can put that to use someday, but we have a lot of them. So 11 lots probably won't cover that, the numbers I gave you, but probably not all of them would want to do that, want to live in that area. So that's one of the reasons we're doing it. The other is, when we actually inherited this, there were 4 of us, 4 children, and 2 of them Ron and I bought out. They wanted to not be a part of that. We've kept the property running as a farm. The neighbor up the road runs his cattle on it. And so we knew that it'd come someday when we needed to make some allowances for this. And so one of the things that we initially decided was we wanted to split the property, split the 123 acres. And I would get the west side, Ron would get the east side. So we kind of already had that decided in our LLC. But when we went to do that, I said, let's pause a minute and see if splitting it just along a line, what's that going to do to any ability to future develop this? So if you go back to the prior plot that we're asking for the variance on, I think, can you do that? Okay. So you see the line there that's got a shared driveway on it. That's a straight line all the way across the property. That's the split line, okay? So, and then on either side of it, each of us would give 30 feet of right-of-way so that the 4 lots in the back would have access. So it's a very clean setup. Shane, do you have the other one, or do I need to show that to them?
Yeah, so it's in the stack.
Well, it's in the, could it be showing up there?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
And actually, it might just be easier to draw on here, because the biggest part of this case is if they divide it and meeting the county code, they create this wraparound right there.
Yeah.
Where they give that lot, they basically expand the road frontage on each of the
Sides.
5 lots or 4 lots that we're talking about by wrapping that last lot around that other house. So it meets the county code, meets the 300 feet, but it creates that awkward space.
Yes, and it's 41 feet wide, a strip 41 feet by 435 feet, which is basically unusable, okay, and probably would become a nuisance. The other thing it creates, because it narrows up that last lot of the buildability of it, right next to the person who owns Lot 3, which is, and he's submitted a letter of support for the variance, McQuillan's, Paul McQuillan is his name, Paul and April. They've submitted a letter of support because they recognize if there's a wraparound lot, it's not good for them. And the other thing it creates is because that lot has gotten so narrow there, that's the buildable part of it, it's like only 258 feet. Really, to put the shared driveway down through that takes another 30 feet out of it. So it gets really narrow, okay? So it kind of destroys that lot. So the only option we had was to put a really sharp 90-degree turn in the shared driveway and come off of the split line and come down to the road. So you got two really sharp 90 degrees, and you move the last part of the shared driveway between two other lots. And, you know, in the 300-foot version of this. And we think that's a nuisance. We think it's going to be hard to maintain. We think it's dangerous. I don't know if you know 132nd Street. Some years ago, way before we were born, there's two really sharp curves, two sets of 90-degree curves on that road, and there's always people running off into the to the pasture. And my neighbor, Mark Purcell, if anybody knows him, Mark has had to have Evergy move the transformer on the place they go out because it's been knocked out twice. So anything that creates a nuisance or creates a safety issue, it would be a part of that, but that's what we would have to do to meet the code and not take these on in terms of 10 feet difference. So that's kind of the story of it. It's really kind of an either or, and we would prefer this one. And we think it makes more sense. The lot lines are a lot cleaner, and really the 132nd Street is a really nice street. There's lots of nice houses on it. Matter of fact, the McQuillan house is well over $1 million that we'd be surrounding, and we really don't want to do that to them. So that's kind of it. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Sarah. We'll be looking for any other testimony in favor of this zoning adjustment. Anybody else in favor? Seeing none, I'll be looking for anybody in opposition to case PZ 26-120. Okay, seeing none, I think I'll go to Kip. Additional comments from staff, if any?
No, the only thing I would say is the exhibit that Mr. Farrell was referring to is Exhibit B in the staff report, so it shows the second option that's not the preferable option of the applicant.
Okay. Very good. Well, I'll be looking for a motion to dispense with the case.
This is PZ 26-120,
You got it?
is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion to approve PZ 26-120A, or 120.
Very good.
Approved.
And I'll second the motion. Please call the roll.
Joanne Lawson.
Yes.
John Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. That'll be very good. That'll wrap up case PZ 26-120. Up next, we will move to case number PZ 26-122. Director Jones.
Yes, can I add the staff report as part of the official record?
Very good.
So this is a little bit different because this is a use variance. So this is a request to allow the property owner to be able to use the property for something that is not allowed in the use table of the Land Development Code. So the property shown on the screen, it has the red X cross on it. It's 10.59 acres. It's undeveloped. It is zoned R1, which is residential rural. has access from 120th Street. And so how the property owner would like to use it is they would like to be able to have 15 or fewer kids that they would tutor and allow a speech therapist to come on site to give speech therapy to those 15 students. And so the Land Development Code does not have a perfect match in the use table for that use. So the closest use is called personal improvement services, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. That is not allowed in R1 zoning. It's just, it doesn't give you an option for a conditional use permit or anything, so that's why this use variance is in front of you. Another thing that we look at with any home type based business is the home occupation code. So that's a section of the Land Development Code that allows certain home-based businesses, and they're designed to not really affect the surrounding area. So there's strict criteria that a home occupation has to meet. This use does not meet the home occupation code because it would have more than the allowed number of customers per day, and it does not allow employees that do not live on site to come to the site. So that was not an option for the applicant either. So the use table is section 151-6.1. So it gives all of the zoning and then it shows us what uses are allowed in that zoning district. So I'm going to talk about some different uses here. So a micro school or a smaller version of a school is not listed in the Land Development Code. We have primary, secondary, colleges, things like that in the Land Development Code. But the reason we went with personal improvement service is that definition, which says it is an establishment primarily engaged in the provision of informational, instructional, personal improvements, and similar services of a non-professional nature. So it's not perfect, I don't think, but that's, at least in my opinion, the closest use. And the Land Development Code guides staff that if there is not a perfect match, we are to determine what the next closest use is. The other one that we looked at was a primary school, and the definition is up there. It's defined as a public, private, or parochial school offering instruction at the elementary school level in the branches of learning and study required to be taught in the public schools of Missouri. And the use table allows primary schools only in commercial zoning. In residential zoning, it would be a conditional use permit, so there would be a public process to go through. However, my interpretation of that would be that's a state-accredited school, which my understanding of this proposal, it is not. So that's how we came to the personal improvement service designation. As Shane mentioned with the previous case, we look at the same 4 criteria. It is the burden of the applicant to show that they have met these criteria. The ones I always point out to the board are the first one, which talks about conditions that are unique to the property, not ordinarily found in the same zoning district, and not a result of the owner's intentional actions. And then the second one talks about not being contrary to the public interest or adversely affecting the rights of adjacent property owners. Staff does not have a huge concern that if you feel those criteria are met, that this would destroy the intent of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan does talk about agricultural uses, and I'm sure you noticed in the applicant letter there are some agricultural uses associated with this school. So here is the subject property with that tiny little cross on it. I'll do a little bit of drawing. So this is Kearney city limits, 33 Highway just to the west. This is Holmes Creek Hills subdivision, if you're aware of that subdivision, and City of Liberty to the south, and 69 Highway right there. Staff has received numerous letters of opposition that were attached to the staff report. We also did get some letters of opposition after we published the staff report, and those are at your stations there. And are added as exhibits to the packet. The applicant did supply the site plan that you can see on the screen. We went through our normal public notice requirements, sent adjacent property owner letters, published the case in the newspaper, and posted a sign. The applicant did supply the letter addressing the criteria in the site plan. And I do want to point out that this applicant, so there's some additional information that was in the opposition information about a much larger school, more students. That's not what has been communicated with staff. That's not what the application is for. They have submitted the plan for 15 students or less and a temporary use. Now, the board can put conditions on it if you chose to, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear that this is not a larger project than what's indicated in the applicant's letter. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and I believe the applicant is present.
Thank you. Questions for Director Jones? We'll now be taking testimony. We'll start in favor, and we'll start with the applicant, please. Please coming up and just, the green light's on, so just make sure to introduce yourself and proceed when you're ready.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Shane and Kip, for your help. My name's Jordan Sutlick. This is my husband, Steve Sutlick. And we are requesting a variance to allow a small home-based learning community for no more than 15 kiddos on our property. Before I explain our request, I would like to address a misunderstanding that appears to have caused significant concern among our neighbors. When I met with some of our neighbors, I shared a pamphlet showing, which you guys have seen in the report. I shared a pamphlet showing the long-term vision for our school. During those conversations, I specifically explained that the campus illustrated in the pamphlet was not being proposed or built on our personal property. I was very clear about that, and the pamphlet was given to them as an introduction that they could use with their pastor, because we are partnering with a church for the actual school. This is just a place for us to get started. So I shared that with them, but unfortunately the pamphlet was later shared without the context that I provided, and the rendering was interpreted as a plan for our property, unfortunately. I understand why a large campus rendering would be alarming if someone believed it represented a proposed development in our neighborhood. If that were what was being proposed, I would understand those concerns too. But that is not what we are requesting. We are not asking to build the campus shown in the pamphlet. We are not proposing a treatment facility or a large institutional school. We are asking for permission to begin a small, supervised, home-based learning community serving no more than 15 kids while we work toward an appropriate long-term location elsewhere. The reason we need to begin this way is deeply personal. My son has childhood apraxia of speech. He knows what he wants to say, but communicating can be very difficult for him. Like many children, he needs support in one area while still deserving to be challenged, understood, and given a joyful childhood. He's not alone though. There's a lot of these kids, and they meet that middle ground for neurodivergent kiddos. They're not severely autistic. They don't even fall in the autism realm. These kids could have ADD, they could have ADHD, and they're just slipping through the cracks in the system. There's no schools for these kids. There are schools for highly autistic kids. We're serving a need that our community in Clay County just doesn't have right now, for these kids to thrive and have a chance at a normal childhood. These kids don't get to go and participate in extracurriculars after school. They have to go to therapy because their therapy needs aren't being met in the school system. So this allows them to get their private therapist on site. Just like our therapist currently comes to our house right now. We live in a subdivision. They come to the house, give our son his therapy needs throughout the week, and then he gets to participate in extracurriculars with all the rest of the kids. So this just allows that for the rest of the kiddos to be able to have that as well. There are children with speech delays, ADHD, dyslexia, sensory processing differences, and other learning needs who struggle in traditional classrooms but do not require intensive clinical treatment. There are also children who are academically advanced but not being challenged, and children who are both gifted in navigating a learning difference. These are children who are falling through the cracks. The word neurodivergent was used in some of the letters that we read through our case. It has been misunderstood in discussions about our request. Neurodivergent does not automatically mean autistic. It does not mean a child requires intensive behavioral intervention. It is a broad term that can describe differences in speech, attention, learning, or sensory processing. Our goal is to provide a small group environment where children can learn through gardening, cooking, practical life skills, outdoor exploration, and individualized academics. When appropriate, a qualified therapist can provide a private session 1 day a week, making it easier for families to support their children without constantly pulling them out of a learning environment. For many families, paying for both the therapy their child needs and an educational setting where their child can thrive is financially overwhelming. We hope to build our school, Luminaire, into a nonprofit organization capable of pursuing grants and other support that can make these opportunities more accessible. But to do that, we must first establish a real program, demonstrate its impact, and develop the operating history that many funding opportunities require. These schools have already proven to be successful across the United States and across the world. We just have to prove that it's successful in Clay County. That is why we're asking to start small. We are actively looking for a church partnership and a suitable future location. A larger vision exists, but it is not proposal for personal property. The site plan that everyone has seen is clearly a 20 to 30 site plan, and there would be no way that it would be able to fit on 5 acres. My son needs support now. The timing matters because childhood does not wait. Other children need support now. Their families cannot put their development, education, or well-being on hold while we spend years waiting for every long-term piece to fall into place. We understand that our neighbors care about their homes and their community. We care about ours too. We are not asking anyone to support a large development or an intensive treatment facility. We are asking you to consider the actual request before you, a small, peaceful, supervised learning community for no more than 15 children, of which most of them come with siblings, so not 15 cars. Children who will be learning to garden, cook, communicate, explore, and experience the kind of childhood every child deserves. Thank you for your time and your guys' consideration.
Very good, thank you.
I do have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Just a couple questions for you.
Yes.
So number one, I want to make sure I understand. You're going to start small at the home. How many visitors will you have in a day's time?
In a day's time, we will have 1 teacher and we will have 7 cars.
I'm sorry?
1 teacher and 7 cars. The teacher will also be coming with her own kids. So we only have about 7 cars that are coming in and out.
7, okay. And is that every day?
It is Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday, okay. And then you had talked about an expansion, which would make sense down the road.
Right.
As you expand, looking to partner with a church, would you then move your operation to the church?
Yes, that's why we're requesting temporary variance, because
Yeah.
we will no longer need.
But there's no guarantee at this point in time. It could be, 3 months, it could be a year.
We're looking for a 3-year variance.
Pardon?
We're looking for a 3-year variance.
3? Okay. Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I've got no questions for y'all at this time. Thank you. I think we'll move on to anybody else. Thank you very much, both of you. Anybody else looking to testify in favor of the zoning adjustment in this case? Okay. Seeing none, I think at this time we'll look for anybody who wishes to testify in opposition to this case, and we'll just start with whoever pops up and comes to the microphone first. And again, thank you. Remember to introduce yourself. And we did have a couple people walk in late. If you weren't here for the swearing in, we do have to swear you in if you're going to testify. So if you come up to testify and you weren't here earlier and had your hand up and swore you in, let us know and we'll swear you in when you come up. But go ahead and proceed when you're ready. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Mary Brulia. I'm a direct neighbor of this lot. Our house is visible right there on the right side of their lot. We bought lot 2. I'd like to start just by saying I completely empathize with their plight. As somebody who's neurodivergent myself, I have ADD and OCD, and my middle son was severely speech delayed and required speech therapy in order to get him to, again, communicate effectively. So I understand the plight, and I think overall the school is a fantastic idea. I think that this is a poor choice in location. And for several reasons. I wanted to speak specifically regarding criterion A and B for the variance and why I do not feel that they're met. Criterion A, as we see, requires the board to find that the requested variance arises from conditions that are unique to the property and not ordinarily found in the same zoning district. I believe that the applicant's own description of the property actually makes the criteria difficult to satisfy. It's got acreage, woods, open space, a creek dividing the lot, rural and agricultural characteristics. Those are not a unique hardship. In fact, they are commonly found on all of the lots on that road. It's found on my property next door. I would actually classify them as something that is worth advertising. I think it makes the property more beneficial to have all of those things. These they do not provide any reasonable reason not to just have a normal residential use. I think they're desirable. And that distinction matters for meeting this criteria. There's no hardship created by a unique condition. There's no reason not to have just a residence, and I think it's especially attractive for that use, and which is what everybody else on the road has made use of their property for. The public materials provided give us additional context. They describe the academy as an outdoor-based microschool with outdoor learning, life skills, therapy, integration, and a physical campus outside. They surround the area, both a play area, a garden, a greenhouse, a chicken coop, all kinds of things that are outdoors. And again, I think that these do not qualify as a hardship. They make it clear this is why they sought this property out specifically for this purpose. And again, that's an important distinction. The applicants have proposed the operation as temporary while they look for another facility or church, but there's no specified way that they plan on obtaining the church. I think it doesn't make practical sense that they would invest so much time and energy in developing this lot for that purpose without a clear exit strategy for their next venture. The property is so well suited to this program based on its acreage, natural features, and outdoor space. What is the actual hardship that requires them to operate this prohibited use here? And if they cannot find another facility within the next 3 years, as they've suggested, what happens to the temporary arrangement that exists or that will exist? This is not the same as a hardship created by the property itself, when it certainly could be used for an additional purpose. I also want to speak regarding criterion B, especially because that helps us determine whether the variance will not be contrary to public interest or adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. Specifically, that second part of the requirement, the rights of people who already live here and are adjacent property owners. These properties are not simply houses in a conventional suburban neighborhood or development. It's a rural residential area. There's multiple working livestock and agricultural operations surrounding the property. During daytime hours when the proposed program would operate, the area is active with feeder trucks, livestock trailers, horse trailers, agricultural equipment regularly using surrounding roads and properties. These are established rural land uses. My husband and I used to live in Kansas City proper in a normal development, and we specifically sought out a property out in a rural setting because we sought a specific piece of life. We have high-stress jobs that do not involve normal working hours. I'm a physician. My husband's a police officer. We both work nights. We are asleep often during the day. And so the thought that it's only going to run during the day is not helpful to us when we are less than 100 feet away from where they plan on running the school. The application itself states that the proposed homeschool will only have 15 students daily, and that physical therapists will travel to and from the property. The advertisements describe it as a tuition-based private school, and this distinction, I think, also matters to surrounding residents. This limits our privacy. We have included more than just property boundaries here. The neighboring residents, we currently have a reasonable expectation that property next door will function as a residence within the rural residential setting. We signed a covenants agreement that we would not run businesses out of our homes or out of our lots. And I think charging $1,400 a month per student in tuition certainly qualifies itself as a business venture. I think that property value has the potential to decrease, especially when there are yurts or geodomes constructed on the property, which is what is seen in the site plan that's proposed online. And there's also a traffic management issue that deserves attention. It says on their application that traffic may be staggered. It does not say that it will be staggered. There's no guarantee that parents, staff, therapists, or visitors will arrive separately. And even if they were staggered, the daily activity still occurs. We already have a lawful and established use of our properties. I do not believe we should have to give up normal privacy, quiet enjoyment, and reasonable expectations associated with these properties just because this particular property is more convenient for the applicant's educational model. I think it sounds like a fantastic program, and again, I just feel that the board should better consider whether this use at this location is appropriate, and I do think it does directly impact the rights of the adjacent residents.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Lawson? Thank you very much. We'll now be looking for the next person to testify in opposition. If people want to maybe start forming a bit of a queue in line so we can keep the
Yeah, please
keep the
line up
testimony,
or we're going to cut it off.
So we can keep the testimony going. Just if you want to start form a little bit of a queue if you want to testify. Thanks.
Good
Proceed when you're
evening.
ready.
My name is Brenna Dean. I am at 18515 Northeast 122nd Street, and I am an effective neighbor of the proposed property. I am speaking specifically about criterion D, which requires the requested variance not to adversely affect the public health, safety, or general welfare, and that it not destroy the intent of the comprehensive plan. I want to begin by addressing an important distinction. The applicants may have described ways they intend to operate Luminaire. They have discussed emergency procedures, safe arrival, dismissal procedures, environmental stewardship, and compliance with applicable requirements. I don't question that they intend to operate responsibly, but criterion D is not simply asking whether the applicants have good intentions. The board has to determine whether this proposed use at this particular property will adversely affect public health, safety, general welfare, or the intent of the comprehensive plan. And that requires looking at the actual conditions of this property and the infrastructure surrounding it. I know this roadway from experience. When we built our house, we had a historic barn, and it was located on a curve. In order for us to build, we had to take that barn down because it was an obstruction on that site. Like whether you're going eastbound or westbound, it did create a blind spot. We did not remove it because it was inconvenient. We removed it because sight distance on this road matters. The proposed property is located on a sharp turn, and it has blind spots for vehicles traveling both ways. And the road itself prevents additional challenges. The road is marked at 35 miles per hour. It is a rural road without shoulders. We have hills, turns, and multiple sharp turns, and only a couple of the curves are marked with reduced speeds. This is not a roadway designed around a high volume and highly organized daily use. And while right now we are being told there will be 7 vehicles, over a 3-year plan, the amount of traffic can change as families come in and out of this home education facility. And as it was said, this is a rural road. It accommodates multiple types of traffic. Residents use it. We have agricultural purposes for it. People walk, people bicycle on it, people ride their horses on this, and large farm equipment uses it regularly. There are feeder trucks, as we mentioned before, livestock trailers, horse trailers, and these vehicles and users have different speeds that they have to accommodate, different maneuvering requirements, and different levels of visibility. So the road has to accommodate all of them without shoulders and with limited sight distances throughout this road. The proposed property also has only 2 access points serving the surrounding road network, which is at 120th and 128th. And that matters for both ordinary traffic and emergency access. The application states that there will be 15 students daily, along with therapists traveling to the property. The applicants also state that traffic may be staggered, and I really think we need to focus on the word may. It does not say that traffic will be staggered. It does not establish a required traffic management plan. It does not guarantee that the parents, the staff, therapists, and other visitors will arrive at different times. And even if the traffic was staggered, every vehicle would still be traveling the same roadway using these limited access points. So the question isn't simply whether the applicants have thought about traffic. The question is whether they have demonstrated that their proposed traffic procedures actually resolve the existing safety limitations of this particular property. I don't believe they have. And the same is true for emergency access. The applicants can establish emergency procedures for their program, but procedures inside the program do not change the physical characteristics of the road outside the property. An emergency vehicle still has to travel a 35-mile-per-hour road without shoulders, around hills and curves in areas of limited visibility. It may encounter a school vehicle, a farm implement, a livestock trailer, a pedestrian, a bicyclist, somebody on horseback. I am saying that an emergency vehicle may be delayed. I am saying criterion D requires the board to determine whether the proposed use will adversely affect public safety, and the physical limitations of this road are directly relevant to that determination. There are also site-specific environmental and safety considerations that I believe deserve more attention. The proposed site plan includes a recreational swim pond and a substantial outdoor programming. That pond is downhill from an existing sheep operation. That operation includes raising, butchering, and processing livestock. There is also a lagoon uphill from that proposed property. The property and the proposed pond could receive runoff from that area above. I'm not saying the runoff will necessarily contaminate the pond. I am saying that when a recreational pond is proposed as part of an educational environment for children, its location relative to an existing livestock operation, lagoon, and natural drainage patterns should be carefully evaluated. The applicants have described environmental stewardship and water resources as an important part of their educational program. That makes understanding the actual water features on this property even more important. There is a Blue Line Creek that runs on the property. When we were building our home, we learned a lot about Blue Line Creeks because we had considered crossing one. We learned about how you have to accommodate to be able to not disturb it and the immediate land surrounding it. And ultimately, we decided not to build across the creek because of regulations and restrictions we encountered regarding the modifications to that area. My understanding from that process was that the considerations were not limited to putting something directly in the creek. There are also restrictions and considerations regarding modification of the surrounding area, and that is why the proposed site plan deserves careful review. The site plan appears to show modifications into the wooded area, a proposed pond near to the creek, and a water wheel associated with the creek and pond. I am not asking the board to assume that these features are prohibited. I am asking the board to establish what is actually being proposed and whether the applicable applicable requirements concerning the creek, surrounding area, drainage, and water movement have been satisfied. If the water wheel is intended to move or divert water from the creek into the pond, the board should understand exactly how that system is intended to operate. That is especially important because the proposed pond is downhill from an existing lagoon and livestock operation and receives runoff from the area above. Again, I am not making an allegation about contamination. I am asking the board to have enough information to make the determination required under criterion D. The site plan also matters because it demonstrates that this is not simply a matter of conducting a small amount of tutoring inside an existing residence. The proposed operation relies on the property itself. It includes outdoor activity areas, trails, recreational pond, gardens, natural areas, and other site features. The property is being used as part of an educational program. That increases the importance of evaluating the physical site, not just the applicant's operating procedures. I also believe this matters when considering the comprehensive plan. The applicants argue that their use supports rural property, agricultural land, open space, and environmental stewardship. But the fact that an educational program may teach environmental stewardship does not automatically establish that the use itself is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The board still has to consider the intensity and character of the proposed use at this particular location. This is a rural residential area surrounding by working agricultural properties. The existing environment includes homes, farm, livestock operations, agricultural traffic, natural areas, and rural roadways. The proposed use would introduce a daily organized educational operation with students, staff, therapists, parents, visitors, and an extensive outdoor programming. That is a different intensity of use from an ordinary residence. And the fact that the applicants intend to operate responsibly does not eliminate the need to determine whether that intensity of use is appropriate for this location. I also want to be clear about what I'm not asking the board to do. I'm not asking the board to decide whether Luminaire is a good educational program. I'm not asking the board to decide whether children should have access to outdoor learning. And I'm not suggesting the individual feature shown on the site plan is automatically unsafe. I'm asking the board to look at the entire picture. We have a sharp curve with blind spots in both directions. We have a 35-mile-per-hour roadway without shoulders, with hills, turns, and limited advisory speed markings. We have 2 access points serving the property. We have a road shared by residential and agricultural users, including large vehicles and trailers. We have emergency vehicles that must navigate the same roadway. We have a proposed recreational pond downhill from an existing lagoon and livestock operation, and we have runoff from the area above. We have a Blue Line Creek and proposed modifications to the natural features around it, and we have a proposed educational use that depends substantially on the outdoor features of this property. The applicants have told the board what they intend to do, but I believe criterion D requires the board to determine more than that. It requires the board to determine whether the actual site and proposed use can coexist without adversely affecting public health, safety, or general welfare, and whether the use is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. Based on the physical conditions of this property and roadway, I do not believe that has been adequately demonstrated. And for those reasons, I respectfully ask the board to find that criterion D has not been satisfied and deny the requested variance. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Questions?
have a quick question.
Good.
Just a quick question. So Holmes Hills Estates is where y'all live, right?
I am on the other side. I am on the south side of the road, a little bit further down the street. So I
Okay.
am not a part of Holmes Hill Estates.
Do you know if Holmes Hills has any kind of a, I can't think of the proper word to use, but any kind of a.
Protective covenants.
Pardon?
Protective covenants.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It does?
So we're just going to need, people all need to speak at the microphone, but we thank you, but we'll just have to speak
Yeah.
at the microphone. Go ahead.
They have
Yeah.
that. They have that, and that is, does it state that this is something you can have within that subdivision, do you know?
Within the
Yeah,
subdivision.
again, thank you. Audience, we're just going to have to only speak, only the person at the microphone is going to be able to answer questions during this meeting. Thank you.
With the proposed lot, they do have limited, the Holmes Hill Estates, they do have limited features that they are able to do on the property. And since I am not a part of this, and I don't have my phone on me, I can't read the covenant by itself. But when it comes to the property, they have fencing variances, they have regulations on what they can do with the land. They have restrictions on livestock and placements of auxiliary buildings
Okay.
or ancillary buildings.
Okay,
So I hope that answers.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. So we'll look for the next person to testify. And again, anybody else who's wanting to testify this evening is going to need to go ahead and get in line now. If you're going to want to testify on this case this evening, please proceed. When you're ready,
Okay,
don't forget to introduce yourself. Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Black, and we are directly across from the lot in question. It looks like their driveway is going to line up with us. My grandparents and I were the first ones on that road. We moved up there in 1987. So we weren't happy when any of you people moved. Just teasing. But I mean, I'm going to go off script here because I agree that neurodivergent children, people need help. I have a brother that needed a lot of help, still does, as an adult. So there's a time and a place for that, but I don't think that this is quite the place for it due to what Brenna just said. You know, I mean, it's a rural community. We personally have horses, very expensive horses. We have got cattle. The curve that she was speaking about is right in front of our house. That's our cattle fence. And it gets very slick in the winter. And, you know, you've got 7, 12 cars running in and out that don't live there. That's a lot of traffic. And it's gonna interfere with my husband's farm equipment, other people and their hay equipment. The pond, the swim pond, I don't know that they're thinking very good. There's a lot of snakes out there. And I just don't know that kids and a pond are gonna mesh real good. I mean, maybe they've thought that through. But I just don't see where this is going to. We kind of feel that this is not going to stay as small as what they say it's going to stay because of the fact we have been told various, you know, well, we're going to start small and then we're going to later down the road grow. So I just want you to think about the people that live there, the covenant. You know, what happens if one of the children get across the street and get in the cattle pen, or worse, in with the horses, gets kicked? It's a lot of kids to take care of and keep an eye on. So,
Very good.
I'm done.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Lawson? No? And next person. Thanks.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Melissa Berry, and I live at 18430 Northeast 122nd, also known as Lot 4, part of the Holmes Hills Estate within the covenant we mentioned. My opposition tonight is not directed towards the Sutlets personally, homeschooling, agriculture, or their educational ambitions. My concern is whether the applicants satisfy the legal requirements defined by the use variance under this section 151.3.2, subsection D, paragraph 1. So the first criterion, the variance must arise from conditions unique to the property, not ordinarily found in the same zoning district and not created by the owner's actions. The applicants point to the property's acreage, the creek, the orchard, the rural characteristics, but those features make the property desirable for their operation, right? They do not demonstrate a unique condition that prevents reasonable use of the property as it's zoned today, which is R1. Second, criterion B, requires the variance not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. A daily operation involving approximately 15 children, scheduled therapy visits, I believe we heard one teacher perhaps, with regular drop-off in traffic represents a substantially different intensity of activity than what we're seeing today. Criterion 3, and to me most important, provided to the public. I've not seen evidence that the property cannot be used for what's otherwise permitted, which is R1 residential. That's what it is permitted for today. There's no evidence that has been provided that states that they could not build a home and live in that home, which is what it's currently zoned for. Finally, criterion D, as we've discussed for public health and safety and general welfare, and the intent of the comprehensive plan. The proposed increase in daily traffic, activities, trips, outside visitors raises a legitimate concern about whether this use is consistent with our established residential characters. I recognize that the board is not here to enforce our private covenants. However, our covenants are recorded. Our covenants specifically prohibit commercial activity on our lots. So my concern is if the board grants this county variance for activity that's expressly prohibited by our recorded covenants, it creates a conflict within our community. So in closing, the applicants have shown why this property is desirable, and I agree, desirable location for their proposed program. But based on the information that's presented, they've not demonstrated the property-specific conditions or the practical difficulty or hardship required by the code. And because of that, I'm requesting you to deny this application for variance. Thank you.
Very good.
Any questions?
Thank you. Questions?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's a good thing that we might bring up. The facts say that we say no, or we say yes, you can do it. And then the covenant says, no, you can't have a commercial of any kind, a commercial business of any kind. Then what recourse is there?
Probably a civil action between private homeowners or the, I don't know, the HOA that would enforce their covenant.
So part of the opposition that was part of the staff report, it included the covenants. I have no idea if that's the complete set of covenants because my office does not enforce the covenants. And yes, if you would, my understanding, and I think this is what Andy's saying, if you would approve the variance because you felt it met the criteria, then the HOA, whoever's in charge of that, would have to have a civil case against the owner.
Which is the conflict that I mentioned, right? So yes, and I believe that is the complete recorded covenant that we provided in your package. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else looking to testify? Introduce yourself. Proceed when you're ready. Thanks.
Thank you. Scott Brulia. I'm Lot 2, directly adjacent to Lot 1. Kip, is there any way we go back to the map of the lots? Okay. Yep, you can see our house. Yep, that's perfectly fine. You can see our house right there. So my concern is, I know that criterion B talks about safety. I'm sorry, it talks about our rights as property owners. So I'll start with the covenants. If it is my right to enter into a civil contract, when my wife and I were searching for property, as she previously stated, we specifically sought out an area, and we dedicated a lot of resources, time, and energy to ensure that we were able to pursue our dream and live in this rural area. We did that with the understanding, we read the covenants, and we knew. There were definitely things that we wanted to do that we had to forego that would have been more convenient for me. I had a side mowing business that I can't do this anymore. I can't have a business out of my house. So there were things that I had to forego and sacrifice in order to obtain what we have built over the last 5 years. And we welcome the Sutlicks to the neighborhood, or anyone who decides to build there. As you can see, this is our community. This is our new family. Goosebumps talking about it. This is great, what we have built and what we have, and we welcome them. But we all 6 of these folks signed these covenants, to my knowledge, when we bought our properties, that this is the rules that we'll follow. So that is our right as a property owner to up to 15 children. If you've been to that lot, if you've seen that lot, when we're talking about, I know Kip mentioned public safety. Safety is a concern with my 2 or 3 children that are running around my house at any given time, or even cousins with 5 kids and however many parents. Like, we're on acreage. I know Jordan mentioned 5 acres. It's actually 10 acres. She said, how are we going to build this on 5? It's 10, and it's a big space. And there's a lot to be managed and maintained. I maintain plenty of ground, and so to keep it safe, to keep the snakes down, if you look at that pond, when they're calling it a pond and a swimming pond, and looking at all of the characteristics of that body of water, and looking at the safety as it pertains to 15 children in that area. So I ask you to strongly consider that. Furthermore, you have farm-style fencing that is allowed along the sides of it, so my right as a property owner, if I wanted to have 2 horses, 2 cows, whatever type of fencing that I wanted to, I would be very limited based on the knowledge, and I believe Missouri common law talks about your knowledge of a school, that even though if it's not specifically stated, that there is a certain amount of liability that we would incur knowing that there's a school or an educational facility next to us, if I would be limited on whether or not I could put up barbed wire fence, or if I could hot fence my horses because there's a school right next door. So while I definitely appreciate what they want to do, I do want to address the fact that it does restrict us and the other property owners adjacent. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 properties that touch that piece of property right there. And we are limited because if those children have access to that whole 10 acres, that in and of itself could be a liability that now we have to consider, that we did not, when we bought that property for the specific purpose of living our rural, quiet lifestyle. Can we zoom out to the road too, all the way out to where you see 33 Highway? And I do want to talk about briefly, I don't think the illustration does it justice, where 33 goes northbound and approaches where you take a right-hand turn or eastbound turn to go on to 120th. That is a very steep hill. I don't know that hill, it was a concern of mine when we bought the property, how steep that is coming northbound where that traffic comes down the hill and the line of sight is not great. It's especially not great when they don't cut the brush, which sometimes we gotta, remind, like, hey, it's time to cut the brush down there because your line of sight to the south is not great. And that's with the current amount of traffic. That's not with cars backed up because they're late to get to soccer practice and people are trying to zip out of there. When you look at the functionality of this and the realistic application of adding this amount of people to this, it is designed to be rural. Again, I can appreciate what they're trying to do, but the design of it and the infrastructure of it and the roads and how they're set up. I mean, you think about these rural roads where kids are running late because you got to drop, if you got 3 different kids, you're dropping them off at 3 different places, things like that. Like, these are all considerations that we are all families, we think about that. And again, we empathize, but it's really a concern of ours. It comes from our heart, like, hey, we welcome you to the neighborhood, but these are legitimate concerns that we have. So I request that you deny the variance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, Commissioner Lawson? Okay. So I don't see anybody else lined up in the queue. Well, then, yeah, so anybody who's going to testify this evening needs to come and get in line. And so that's the last time I'm probably going to say that. But go ahead and introduce yourself and proceed when
I'm
you're
Mayor
ready.
Ali,
Thank you.
and I am right next door to this property, and I am the sheep owner, and I have 2 guard dogs that currently are kept in with my sheep using electric fence. And this property right next to me, if this becomes a school, does that mean that I'll have to get rid of my dogs and the electric fence? Because those children are going to walk up to the fence. So just think about that, please.
Thank you.
I wanted to mention too, you folks don't have the covenants in front of you?
Well, we've been providing the covenants as part of the staff report. I'll reiterate, it's really not going to be a decision point in the decision that we make today, other than, you know, you could make a case, as I believe the previous speaker did, that it does tie into point B about the rights of property owners. But we're really going to be making the decision based upon the comprehensive code and based upon these 4 criteria. The private covenant is.
If I could, I'd like to point out 2 covenants.
Can we get your name, please?
Sorry, Bruce Kelly.
Thanks,
We
sir.
live on Lot 6.
Okay.
Covenant number 5 says primary use of any land shall be residential and no commercial uses shall be permitted. Covenant number 6, all dwellings built thereon shall be single-family homes only. So I think it's important that we realize that we all have to live by these covenants, and I think everybody should. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Thank you. Okay, looks like we have maybe one more. Sir, please state your name. Proceed when you're ready.
He didn't get.
If you haven't gotten sworn in yet, please, thank you. You swear to God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And
Doug
proceed.
Noland, 1516 Wellington Way, Liberty, Missouri. First of all, I don't live in the area. I own 73 acres that is directly across from where the applicant's proposal is. I used to live on the property years ago, back in the late 70s. But I know a number of these people, I'm related to some of these people, and I've become friends with some of these people. And I share their opposition to this variance request. And when I look at the 4 requirements, I fail to see how the applicants have established by substantial evidence that this will not adversely affect the adjacent property owners, the general zoning of the area, which is R1, and the use of this property. Now, I know that the covenants we've heard about here is not within your purview. I understand that. But when this property was developed and these covenants were established and these 7 lots were created, the developer saw the general comprehensive nature of this property. And I think that fits very well with the comprehensive plan of the county in this, that it's rural residential facilities. And the covenants specifically say that it is residential property, not commercial property, and no commercial property will be allowed in the area. But that's within the covenants. But I think that is consistent. The developer saw that the need for this to be single-family homes who like a rural setting in a rural area, and that's consistent with the R1 designation that's here. So I join the neighbors that have come here and very well articulated their opposition, particularly how it can affect their property and it can affect the public safety of the area and the general welfare of all those people that live out there. I'm on the zoning board over across the street in Liberty, and I know sometimes things are presented that may be good ideas. This may be a very good idea. It may very well be. But it's not a good idea in a land that's zoned R1 that is for residential use only and not commercial use of this property. Thank you very much.
Mr. Nolan, thank you. Any questions? Thank you. All right. Any questions for any of the staff or any other clarifications that you'd like to seek at this time? Okay. Director Jones, anything you would like to add at
I guess
this
the only thing
time?
I would point out is we did send this to Road and Bridge, and they commented that there were no concerns about the use, since the roads were talked about so much.
Thank you.
So
All right, I'll be looking for
A motion?
a motion.
Okay, let me
And-
put my glasses on so I can read properly. All right. I would move to deny case number PZ 26-122.
Motion has been made to deny case number PZ 26-122. I will second the motion. And I'll just offer my thoughts on it. These four criteria, and I appreciate everybody for coming out today, making their voices heard. These are really the four criteria that this body is required to limit itself to utilizing and making its decision here today. It's my view that I have concerns on both A and B. A is really about having something unique about the property that would preclude it from simply being done everywhere, thus undermining all of our zoning. And I have some concerns that maybe there isn't enough uniqueness to prevent that. And point two, I think a number of folks made some valid arguments that it does affect their property rights as adjacent property owners. So for those reasons, I second your motion, and seeing no further discussion, I'll call the roll.
Joanne Lawson
Yes.
and John Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion to deny carries.
Thank you. So that ends case number PZ 26122. Next, and I appreciate everybody coming out today to make your voices heard on that. Next in the meeting is director comments.
Yeah, just one comment. We do have an application for next month. So we'll be in touch via email, but we are planning on it being the fourth Wednesday at 5:30 instead of the fourth Tuesday, but you will be hearing from staff.
We will be there.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Director Jones. With that, this meeting is adjourned.